Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year. This is our first stream of 2021. Oh, shocking. Time flies when you're having fun. So, Happy New Year. Welcome back. It's been a while. And this time we're going to take a look at our Lesson 9, Conversation 4. Whew, we're on the home stretch, right? We're close to the end of our course. Only one more lesson. And in this lesson, we talked about going to eating competitions. And an eating competition is actually pretty popular around the world. Even on TV, they will have these eating competitions sometimes. The most famous one is where people will eat hot dogs. And the crazy way to do it is take a hot dog, break it in half, and go, nom, nom, nom. And then take the bun, the bread for the hot dog, dip it in water, and then eat it. And so it's kind of terrifying to see people eat hot dogs so quickly. But even people like me, regular people, will do eating competitions for fun. Not much, not very much, but when I was little, we would do a pie eating contest. And what you would do, maybe 10 different children in a line, and you have a plate with a pie on it, and have a plate, and then all the children, you'll and try to eat it. Don't use your hands, only your face. And so people in America will do this here and there just for fun, just to be silly, maybe at someone's birthday party or something. So have you ever tried an eating competition? I don't know about you, but eating competitions are a little bit scary, but they're kind of funny, I guess. So we had our silly personality, and they wanted to try something crazy and try to get a thick booty, a big butt. And the best way to do that is, well, number one, exercise. Number two, eat more. So through our dialogue, we learned a few different things. We learned different ways to talk about quantity. Right? We talked about some normal ways to talk about quantity. A few, some, a little, a bunch of, a little bit, all kinds of things. And there are tons of them in English, so we just covered some of the most common ones. And then we took a look at a few and a little versus few and little. Most of the time, we will use a few something or a little something. But then you can use just few something or little something if you mean it in a negative way. Like, oh, there were few people at the show. Too bad. Okay? And then we learned some other quantity word. Different interesting ways to show a large amount or a small amount or a boatload or a buttload or a ton, and some bad words too. So be careful if you use the bad words. Don't do it around children. But when you're with your friends, you can say, oh, I ate a beep ton of macaroni and cheese. So our dialogue was a little bit silly and a little bit crazy about an eating competition. But all of these phrases you learned, you could use them day to day, talking about food and eating at restaurants and ordering things and all kinds of stuff, right? Oh, I ate a ton of this. I ate too much that. Okay? So let's get started with our first set of homework. And our first set is talking about expressions of quantity. And one thing to think about is it a countable noun or uncountable? Now, this is kind of an annoying part of English, but if you can imagine one of that thing, you can count it. So you could say a few. If you can't imagine one of them, it's uncountable, like water. Can I think of one water? Well, no, you'd have to have 1 cup of water. So something like water is uncountable, so you would say a little water, okay? So keep that in mind. Some of these were tricky about countable and uncountable. So our first sentence is,我加入了一点点辣椒在汤里面. So my English way of writing this would be, I added a little bit of chili pepper to my soup. Okay, I added a little bit of chili pepper to my soup. So the focus of this is a little bit. So a little bit means a small amount. And remember, we're not counting chili peppers, because peppers, if you think of a chili pepper, it's one thing, right? But when you're cooking, you don't put a whole thing in there. Well, maybe you do, but usually we chop it up. And when we chop it up, you have some of that stuff. It's not one pepper, but it's uncountable. Chili pepper, okay? So a little bit of chili pepper to my soup, okay? And remember, chili pepper means that spicy kind of pepper. So be careful what you write. When we're talking about those kinds of peppers, we usually say chili pepper or hot pepper. If you said chili, in America, most people will think of chili, which is a kind of soup or a kind of stew. Chili is like tomatoes and beans and meat. It's a kind of stew. It's a kind of like a thick soup. So you can Google chili recipe and you'll see what it looks like. It's like a red, heavy soup. And you can eat it with a spoon or eat it with chips. It's really good. But if just chili, people will think of that soup. So if we're talking about the spicy peppers, say chili pepper. Okay? And then I saw someone write pepper, but pepper, if you just say pepper, people will think about black pepper, 胡椒. So if you just say pepper, that sounds like the normal kind of pepper. But we want spicy peppers, chili peppers, okay? So I added a little bit of chili pepper to my soup, okay? Now, added something to my soup. So a lot of you wrote, I added pepper in my soup. So when we use add, we usually will use the word to. Add something to something, okay? If you want to use, if you use the verb put, then you could use the word in. I put a little bit of chili pepper in my soup. But added, we'd say I added something to something, okay? They go together. Added usually goes with the word to. And then one more thing, I said my soup because I'm making it. So I added a little bit of chili pepper to my soup. Some of you wrote the soup, but remember, if it's the first time you're talking about something, the is not the best choice. If you use the word the, that means the person you're talking to knows what you're talking about. We already know what you're talking about, the soup, okay? So, and then of course, I said a little bit of chili pepper. You could say a little chili pepper, a bit of chili pepper, or a little bit of chili pepper. All three are okay. Okay. Next up is 我只有一些煮菜的经验，对味道没有太多信心. So I only have a bit of cooking experience. I don't have much confidence in the flavor or in the taste. Both are okay. So I only have a bit of cooking experience. So some of you wrote, I only have some. Some means like medium. There's a lot, some, and a bit or a little. So some is kind of in the middle. And so does some go with the word only? Not really. So in English, we don't put only and some together because some sounds like it's a decent amount. It's not a little bit, it's not a lot, it's okay, it's some. So only and some don't really go together. Only suggests that it's a small amount, right? So I only have a bit of cooking experience. So someone else wrote this in a different way and said, I've only cooked a few times. That's very good too. That's another way to think about it. Don't use experience, just use the present perfect to show that it is an experience. So I've only cooked a few times. Good job. So I only have a bit of cooking experience. So you could say cooking experience or experience cooking. Cooking experience, meaning cooking is describing what kind of experience. And then experience cooking. This experience and what action. So both would be okay. You don't need the word of. So I saw someone say experience of cooking. You don't need of. Experience cooking. And then I saw someone say cooking experiences with an S. Now, experiences with an S means times you've done it. But here we're talking about experience as like what you have, your skill, your knowledge. So we don't want an S on experience. Okay. Oops. Hi, Jean. Welcome. Thanks for saying hi. And then next up, I don't have much confidence in the flavor. Or you could say, I'm not confident about the flavor or about the taste. Or I don't think it'll taste good. So those were a couple of your answers, saying I'm not confident about the taste or I don't think it'll taste good. So somebody wrote, I don't think they'll taste good, but it's not they, it's it. It's the soup. So I don't think it will taste good. That's okay too. So I don't have much confidence in the flavor or about the flavor. And if we have a negative, I don't have, then you can use the word much. I don't have much confidence. So sometimes we get in the bad habit of using many and much all the time. There are many people. There is much water. But in spoken English, we usually use many and much in negative sentences or questions. I don't have much confidence. There weren't many people. Okay? So try to keep that in mind. If you're speaking about something being true, there are many people, don't use many. Use a different word. Use lots of or tons of, something like that. Okay? So let's see. And then flavor and taste, basically the same thing, so it doesn't matter what you say. I don't have much confidence in the flavor. You're worried about your soup. It's not going to be so great. Next up. 我希望你可以给我一些建议. Now, I hope you can give me some tips. Or, I hope you can give me some advice. Okay? Both are okay. Tips. One tip is a little piece of advice. So, you could ask someone for some tips. Tips are countable. You can have many tips. 1 tip, 2 tips, 3 tips. So, some tips. Advice is uncountable. It's an idea. There's not one advice, 2 advices. So, no S on that. So, I hope you can give me some advice. Okay? And so, yeah, I saw someone add S to advice. Advices. Advice never takes an S because you can't have one advice. You have one piece of advice or one tip. Okay? And then I said, I hope you can give me some tips. And I'm hoping that you can or that you will. So I use can. Some of you said, I hope you could give me some tips. Could is the past tense of can. And so you could be talking about before. Oh, back then, I hope you could have given me some tips. Or I hope you could give me some tips. I'm imagining that maybe you will, but I'm not sure. If I think you will, then I use can. I hope you can give me some tips. If I'm not sure, I could use could. I hope you could give me some tips. Maybe the person will say no. Okay? So the difference between can and could, they're close, but slight difference. Okay. Next up is 我想等一下你可能需要喝很多水. So, I think you might need to drink lots of water in a bit. Or later. Both would be okay. So, I think you might need to drink lots of water in a bit. So, here I use I think, meaning I think this might happen. Maybe it will happen. I think you might need to drink lots of water. And I think you might means I'm thinking about this and maybe this will happen. Might means I'm not sure, but there's a chance. You might need to drink lots of water. You could also say, you could leave to drink out of here. You don't need drink. You could say, you might need a lot of water in a bit. Okay? And then you could also say later. I think you might need a lot of water later. But I think in a bit is a little bit better than using later. Later sounds like much later. In a bit means in a short time. Okay? So later could be later today, maybe in a few hours. But if it's in 10 minutes, I would just say in a bit. Okay? And then I said lots of water. You could say a lot of water. You could say a large amount of water. Up to you. There are many ways to say a big amount. Okay? Next up we have 我们这边也有足够的厕所可以用。不要担心. So, we have plenty of bathrooms for you to use. Don't worry. Okay? So we have plenty of bathrooms for you to use. Don't worry. So, I use the word plenty of bathrooms. Plenty means enough, meaning, oh, not just one, and you have to worry that someone's using it. Oh, there are plenty. We don't need to worry about it. So anytime you use plenty of or enough, there's the right number of that thing, and you don't need to worry about it, right? So we don't need to think, ooh, maybe it's not enough. We have plenty of them. We have plenty of bathrooms for you to use. Meaning that like you don't need to worry, you won't have to wait, okay? And then I say for you to use. So the bathrooms are for you, and then what are you going to do? To use them, okay? So, and then the second part, I created a new sentence and said, don't worry. Or you could connect it. You could say, and don't worry about it, or something like that. Okay? And then, so I saw some of you say, we have enough bathrooms, which is fine. You could say plenty of bathrooms. You could say lots of bathrooms. That would be fine. But the meaning of lots of is a little different than plenty of. Plenty or enough shows that there's like a need for it, and it suggests you have the right number. A lot just means many, right? And then some of you use restrooms. I use bathrooms. Both are okay. Restrooms is a little more polite. And so if you're talking to your friends, you don't have to use the word restroom. You could use bathroom. It depends on who you're talking to. Okay? So if it's with a friend, you don't need to be polite. You can just say, you can stick with bathroom. That's okay. Okay. So now next up we have lesson 9, conversation 4, part 3. And this part is talking about a few, used to talk about a small number of something you can count. And then a little, meaning a small amount of something you can't count. A few chickens, a little water. So maybe 3 chickens and then a little bit of water, okay? But then if we don't use the word so you say few chickens, that means there's not enough. It's a small amount, and that's kind of a bad thing. Or you say little water, ooh, that sounds bad. Maybe you're in the desert and, oh, I have little water. I need to drink. Okay? So a few, a little. It could be positive or just in general, whatever. It doesn't mean anything special. But if you take away the word it's a bad thing. Oh, there were few people at my school. Only 3 people. What's going on? There was little water in the desert. Everyone was thirsty. Okay? So our first sentence is 我中午只吃了一点点，现在好饿. So this one was a little bit tricky because of the time. And that's not your fault. This is a Chinese-English difference. So I wrote this as, I ate little food this afternoon. I'm starving now. Or, I only ate a little food at lunchtime. I'm starving now. Now, there's a big thing that you might notice. So in Chinese, it says 中午. Now, how do you say 中午 in English? Well, your first thought, maybe you say noon. Well, not exactly, because in Chinese, the phrase 中午 means lunchtime, right? It's from 12 o'clock until maybe 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. It's this span of time. So 中午 in Chinese means maybe 1 or 2 hours in the middle of the day, right? But if you say noon in English, what does noon mean? Noon means 12 o'clock in 0 minutes. So 12:00 is noon. So any time after 12 o'clock is actually the afternoon. Okay? And so if you're talking about 12:30, is that noon? No, that's afternoon because it's after 12 o'clock. Okay? 1 o'clock, is that noon? No, it's afternoon. It's 1 in the afternoon. So be careful. If you think of 中午, that is not exactly the same as noon. And if someone says, hey, let's meet at noon, they mean 12:00. So I had one time when a student asked me, hey, Kyle, when should we meet? And I said, let's meet at noon. And then my student said, yeah, but what time at noon? And I said, at noon. And he said, what do you mean? 12, 12:30, 1 o'clock? And I said, no, at noon. Because noon, for me, means 12:00. Exactly 12 o'clock. So be careful of that. Noon means 12:00. Anything after that is afternoon. And if you want to say 1 o'clock, that's in the afternoon, but you could say the early afternoon. Okay? At like 4 or 5 o'clock, what time is that? Well, it's afternoon. You could say the late afternoon. It's late in the afternoon. Okay? So for this one, I said, I ate little food this afternoon. I'm starving now. You could also say, I only ate a little food at lunchtime. So 中午 is a good match for lunchtime. Lunchtime is that time from like 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock. We're not sure exactly, but when people usually eat lunch. Okay, enough about noon and lunchtime and afternoon. So I ate little food this afternoon. There's no right? I ate little food. So that means I'm not happy about it. This is a bad thing. I ate little food. It's too little, not enough. Okay? And then you could also say, I only ate a little food. Now, here we have I only ate a little food. Well, because only shows the negative feeling about it. So a little, we don't need that negative feeling. You don't need to do it again. So I ate little food. Having no gives us the negative feeling. I only ate a little food. The only gives us the negative feeling. Okay? So, and also, you don't have to have the word food here. You could say, I ate little this afternoon. And you know what the person's talking about. Okay? I also saw at the lunch. Now, at the lunch sounds like you're at a lunch meeting with people. Maybe you're having lunch people. You're having lunch with people. You're not having people for lunch. Don't do that. You're at lunch. At lunch meaning the event. If we're talking about the time, we need to say at lunchtime. Okay? I have a question. Noon. Yeah, noon is exactly 12 o'clock. Thank you. So, let's see. Let's keep on moving. Our second sentence was 我有剩下一点点薯条，你要吃吗? So, I have a few French fries left. Do you want them? So, a few French fries. Now remember, can you imagine what one French fry looks like? Yeah, one French fry, two French fries. So what kind of word is this? Well, this is countable. And so when it's countable, what do we use? Do we use a few or a little? A few. So if it's countable, 1, 2, 3, you use a few. So I have a few French fries left. And now, is this a good thing or a neutral thing or a bad thing? Well, it's either good or general, so we use a few. It's not negative, so we don't drop the word a. Okay? I have a few French fries left. So a few of you use the word a little. I have a little French fries. But a little is usually with something you cannot count. It sounds a little bit funny when we're talking about French fries, because you don't scoop French fries with a spoon, you pick them one by one, okay? So I have a few French fries. And when we're talking about having something left, in Chinese we say 我有剩下. But in English we say I have something left. I have a few French fries left, okay? Or if we're talking about our course, we have one lesson left. Oh, too scary. So I have something left. So I did see someone say, I left a few French fries. Now left, if you left something, that means you put it there and you walked away. So that's a different meaning. We want to say, I have a few French fries left, meaning I still have them and they are from before. But if you say, I left a few French fries, means you put them there and then you go away. Okay? So you could use the word left, or if you made food for someone, maybe I made you a sandwich and I call you and say, hey, I am going to work, but I left a sandwich for you in the refrigerator. So I put it there and I walked away. Okay? So remember the difference between I have something left or I left something. Okay? And then the second part, do you want them? Meaning, do you want these French fries? Because it's a few, we use them. Do you want them? Okay? And I saw someone use, do you want some? But some means I have a few left, maybe 3 or 4. And if you say some, that means I'm only giving you like 2 or 3, not all of them. So I'm talking about giving you all of them. So do you want them? Meaning these last few. I saw someone ask the question, would you like to eat it? Well, you could ask, would you like to eat them? Because it's a few. But when you're talking to your friends, this sounds a little bit too polite. You don't need to use would when you're talking to your friends. Would you like to eat them? That's okay, but you don't have to be polite. You could say, do you want them? Or do you want to eat them? Okay? I also saw someone say, do you want to eat? Don't forget, you need the word them at the end. Do you want to eat them? Okay? And then our next sentence is, 那不叫一点点，只剩下一根呢。So, that's not a few. There's only one left. So that's not a few. So it's not 3 or 4. It's only one. There's only one left. So I use that's not a few, meaning I'm looking over there in what you have. So that's not a few. A few of you wrote, it's not a few. It's not a few. It's better to use that's not a few or there aren't a few. It's not a few. It is about one thing, right? And so the person said a few, and now you're saying it. So you already know the answer, kind of. So using it is a little bit weird here. It's if you're looking at something that they have, you'd say that, or there aren't, meaning they don't exist there. There aren't a few, or that's not a few, okay? And then again, French fries are things you count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want to use a few, not a little. And that depends on what you wrote for your last sentence, okay? And then a few of you said, that's not called a few. But in English, we don't have this kind of phrase. We don't need the word called here. So you could just say, that's not a few, because that is not a few French fries. It's only one, right? There's only one left. So there is only one left. So just like we said before, using it is a little bit awkward here. It doesn't fit. We're talking about here, and so I'm pointing at it, and I'd say there's only one left. There is what we're talking about things, we usually use the word there, okay? It is usually used for a situation, right? So if I'm looking at it, I'd say there is only one left. And one person said there's only one piece left. But we don't talk about French fries as pieces. We talk about them as one French fry, two French fries. So you don't need the word piece, okay? There's only one French fry left. And then next up is 你没有太多选择，吃或不吃随便你. So too bad. There's only one left. You have little choice. It's up to you whether you eat it or not. And then one of you used a good phrase that we could use here. You could say, take it or leave it. That's a great phrase for this situation. So you have little choice. Little choice, meaning there's not much. So choice could be choices, where you count choices, 1 choice, 2 choice, 3 choice, 4 choice. But you could also think of choice as something that's uncountable too, like this idea. And so you could use little here. When we're talking about negative, we usually use choice with the word little. You have little choice, okay? You could also say you have few choices, but few choices suggests that there's 2 or 3. But if you're having almost no choice, you say you have little choice, okay? And then, yeah, you only have a few choices is what a few of you said. But if you say a few choices, it sounds like maybe there are 3 different choices, okay? So you have little choice is the phrase we learned together. And then the second part, you could write it a few different ways. It's up to you whether you eat it or not. So it's up to you, meaning I'm giving you the choice. I'm giving you the decision. And then we learned about whether you do this or not, whether you eat it or not. So you decide. So I also saw someone write, take it or leave it. Take it or leave it is a great phrase that fits here. If you make an offer to someone and they can choose to accept it or walk away, and there's no other choice, you can use the phrase take it or leave it. Maybe if I'm selling you something, I will sell you this comic book for $100. Take it or leave it. That means I will not change the price for you. It's $100 or nothing. I'm not going to give it to you for $50. Okay? Take it or leave it's a great choice. I also saw people write this other ways, which are okay, but you could do it better. So to eat or not to eat is up to you. Now, this is pretty good. I like it. It sounds almost like Shakespeare. To be or not to be. To eat or not to eat is up to you. So it sounds too formal. We learned that you can start a sentence with to verb, to eat, but it sounds very formal if you do that. To eat or not to eat, that is the question. Or eat or not, up to you. So you would add the word if. If you eat it or not is up to you. So we need a verb is in there. If you eat it or not is up to you. Okay? I also saw someone say eat it or leave it. Now, eat it or leave it, that's pretty good. But instead of changing the verb, I would stick to the standard sentence that we usually use. We usually use take it or leave it. And that's like a set phrase that people will use. Take it or leave it. Okay. Now let's move on to Lesson 9, Conversation 4, Part 4. Now, hopefully you're not worried about bad words. So in this lesson, we learned some different ways to talk about a lot of something or many things, but in a crazy, exaggerated way. So sometimes if you say, oh, I have a lot of work to do, you want to make it even more crazy, even stronger. I have a buttload of work to do. Maybe you're super busy, or you ate too much food. Oh, I ate a crap ton of food today. So you can use some bad words to make it extra crazy. Exaggerating is fun. People love to exaggerate when they're speaking English. So you guys should practice. And also, you'll understand when somebody says it. If they say, I'm busy, or I have a lot of work, you know they have this much. If they say, I have a buttload of work, you know this much. If they say, I have a beep ton of work, you know it's even more. So people use these to exaggerate and make it stronger. So first up is 我最近都吃少少的淀粉，很多蛋白质。So this is something that a lot of us should be doing, and it's a good way to stay healthy and get fit. I've eaten a small amount of carbs and a large amount of protein recently. So, a small amount of carbs and a large amount of protein. So, we've learned about carbs before. Carbs is a short way to say a long word, which is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the chemicals that are in foods like bread and pasta and noodles and rice. And carbohydrates are basically sugars. And it's good for your body because it gives you energy. But if you eat too many carbs, too many carbohydrates, your body doesn't need that much energy. And what does your body do? Well, it turns all that sugar into fat. So too many carbs is not good for you because you don't need that much energy. And then protein. What is protein used for? Protein helps your body build muscle. So that will be good for your body to be healthy, be fit. So I've eaten a small amount of carbs and a large amount of protein recently. We learned that you could use a something amount of to say it's a small amount, a large amount, a huge amount, an enormous amount, a tiny amount, right? And then here, the verb is I've eaten. So we looked at the present perfect tense before. I have eaten, blah, 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 recently. Now, why do we use the present perfect, I have eaten, in this sentence? Remember, present perfect means it started back then and continued till now. I've eaten this recently. So it started before, it didn't stop back then, it continued till now, and maybe it's still happening now. So over this time, I've eaten blah, blah, blah recently. Okay? And then you could also use the present perfect continuous because you're focusing on that it continued, it kept going. So I've been eating a small amount of carbs, blah, 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 recently. So I have eaten, I've been eating, basically the same, but it shows that it's continued, okay? So if you use the present perfect tense, good job. So I've eaten or I've been eating. Now, I saw a few people use the present simple, I eat recently. Well, eat is used for a habit, what you do again and again. And it's what's always true. And so it doesn't really fit with the word recently because recently suggests that it's close to now, right? If it's close to now, it's better to use the present perfect because it started a little while ago and it's continued to now. So, but if you say I eat, that means it's always true. That's always your habit, okay? And that doesn't really fit with recently. And then I saw someone say I've ate. Remember, if you say I have, you need to use that special kind of word, which is a past participle, which sometimes has an N sound. Eaten, eaten. I've eaten a small amount, okay? And then another way to think of this, instead of using a small amount, a large amount, you could say less and more to show it's different than before. I've been eating less carbs and more protein lately. So less carbs, more protein. I saw someone say less carbs and a large amount of protein. That's pretty good, but it's good to keep consistent. So a small amount of and a large amount of, they seem similar. Less and more, they seem similar, okay? But that's just style. It's not wrong to do it differently, okay? That's just trying to be, if you're writing a book and you want to have a nice style, okay? Oh, somebody said a little amount of carbs. And that's okay too, but it's more common to say a small amount of, okay? But a little amount of is okay too, okay? Next up is 我需要很多精力应付接下来的工作. So I need a whole lot of energy to deal with my work that's coming up. So I need a whole lot of energy. We learned that you could say a lot of. To say even more, you could say a whole lot of. And some of you used other phrases which are totally fine. So somebody said, I need tons of energy. And that's fine too. A lot, a whole lot, tons. And so it feels even more a little bit, okay? I need a whole lot of energy to deal with my work that's coming up. So using the verb deal with, meaning you need to handle it, you need to deal with it, you need to do the work, okay? I did see someone use the word cope with. Cope with my work. It works here, but it sounds a little bit different. It sounds like your work is horrible and it's hurting you. So to cope with something sounds like that thing is hurting you and you need to like survive. So, oh, I need to cope with my work. My boss keeps yelling at me. So that's a little bit of a worse feeling. So deal with means you just need to do it. Cope with it means I need to survive, okay? So it's a little bit different. And then some of you said with the following work or the next work. Because in Chinese you say 接下来的工作. But in English we don't really say the following work or the next work. What we say is the work or my work and then put the description after it. So work that is coming up. So in the near future or something like that. My work in the near future. My work that's coming up. Okay? So we want work and then the words, the time describing it afterwards. Remember the default for time, the usual place for time is after. Okay? So my work that's coming up or my work that's in the near future, something like that. Okay? Next up is why or what you need to help you do that work. 大量的咖啡因可以让我保持清醒。Sorry, losing my mind. So, a ton of caffeine can keep me awake. A ton of caffeine can keep me awake. Now remember, caffeine in English is caffeine. What is caffeine? Caffeine is the chemical inside of coffee that gives you energy. Can you get caffeine from somewhere else? Well, yeah, you could drink a Red Bull. Or what else? Tea has caffeine too, but a little bit, okay? So, a ton of caffeine can keep me awake. As usual, you don't need to say a ton of, you can say whatever you want. A load of caffeine, or tons of caffeine, or a lot of caffeine, or any of the other things we said. But remember, caffeine is something you cannot count, so we need something like a ton of, a load of, a lot of. I saw someone write caffeines with an S. You can't count one caffeine. I can't. I'm not a scientist. So caffeine is like a chemical, so we can't count it. It's uncountable. Okay? And then the second part, a ton of caffeine can keep me awake. You could say this a few different ways. A ton of caffeine can help me stay awake. So you can use the word help here, and that would be because the caffeine is helping you do something. You're working together. Your body and the caffeine are working together to keep you awake, okay? Help me stay awake. Keep me awake. Help me stay sharp. That would be good too. Or help me stay alert. Alert would be like ready to go, okay? So all of these would be good. Sharp means you're like focused and your brain is working quickly. Alert means you know what's going on. You're not getting lazy. And then keep me awake is the standard one. Not falling asleep, okay? Next up. Caffeine will help you stay awake. So, 所以我喝了超级多咖啡和茶，让我一天就处理完超级大量的工作。Wow. So, typing like crazy. Then I drank a buttload of coffee and tea, which helped me finish a crap ton of work in one day. So, here in Chinese, we start with 所以. But in English, when it's not a great idea to use so to start a sentence. People do it, but when you're writing, I would say try not to start a sentence with so when you're writing. It just looks not so good. So, oh, I just did it. Then I drank a buttload of coffee. So instead of using so, you can use the word then to start your sentence. Then I drank a buttload of coffee and tea. The word buttload is a fun way to say a ton of coffee. People use this all the time. A lot, a ton, a buttload. It sounds like way more, okay? And of course, you could use whatever you want. We learn many different ways to say this. A buttload of coffee, a crap ton of coffee, loads of coffee, tons of coffee, a beep ton of coffee. Okay? Remember, coffee is something you cannot measure. It's uncountable. Sorry. You can measure it, but it's uncountable. One coffee, usually we would say 1 cup of coffee. Okay? So I did see someone say, I drank a zillion coffee. Like coffee, zillion is for things you can count. 1, 2, 3, a million, a billion, a zillion. Okay? So zillion goes with things you can count. You could say, I drank a zillion cups of coffee. Okay? So remember, zillion or gazillion goes with things you can count. I drank a zillion cups of coffee. Yeah, that's a little too much. Okay? So a buttload of coffee, crap ton of coffee, loads of coffee, all okay. And then I use which can be used to talk about the whole sentence. So we have this idea, I drank a buttload of coffee and tea. And then this next part is describing that whole thing, which helped me finish a crap ton of work in one day. Again, you can use help here. When we're talking about coffee or food, you put it in you and it helps you do something. Your body and that food work together to get something done. It helped me finish a crap ton of work. Crap ton is a nicer way to say a beep ton of work. That four-letter word that starts with SH, a SH ton of work. But if you want to be a little more careful, you can say crap ton. So remember, these words are not bad, but they're not super nice. So if you're around kids, just say a ton. If you're around friends, you can say a crap ton. If you're around close friends, you could say a beep ton of work, okay? Which helped me finish a crap ton of work in one day. And you can say tons of work, loads of work, a considerable amount of work, whatever, okay? Now, a lot of you use the word made me. Oh, this made me finish a crap ton of work. Now, make you sounds like it forced you to do it. I had the coffee and the coffee said, hey, do your work. So it didn't make you do it. Make you sounds like it pushed you, it forced you to do it. But it helped you or it let me finish my work, okay? So made doesn't really fit here because made sounds like the coffee is pushing you to do it, okay? And then in one day is our time. And where do we put our time? Put it at the end of the sentence, which helped me finish a crap ton of work in one day, okay? I have a question over here. Can I use therefore? Yes, that's totally fine. Therefore is a better way to say so when you're in writing. It does sound a little bit formal. So in spoken English, people don't use the word therefore very much. It sounds a little bit too formal, but it's totally fine and it's correct. So a ton of caffeine can keep me awake. Therefore, I drank a buttload of coffee and tea. So therefore sounds formal, buttload sounds very casual, so it doesn't really match, right? So whatever. Therefore, the grammar is correct, but it's a little too formal for this kind of conversation. Okay? Next up, lesson 9, conversation 4, part 5. So this is where we get into our eating competition. So you kick things off with your friend Jenny and you get started on your eating competition. Nom, 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 nom. Jenny starts getting tired and you say slow and steady wins the race. So don't rush yourself, just take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. You can use this for a lot of different things. If people are trying to get their work done fast, you can say, hey, no rush, slow and steady wins the race. It doesn't have to be an actual race. It could be about getting something done and succeeding, okay? And then Jenny drops out of the competition, but you keep on going and you black out. Oh, but when you were blacked out, you were still eating. Oh, no. And you ate a considerable amount of food, a buttload of things. So, now, this eating competition is kind of crazy and ridiculous, but when you're talking to your friends, you always will probably mention how much food you ate. Oh yeah, I went to this restaurant and it was so good. I ate a crap load of potato chips, or I ate a ton of French fries. So you can actually use a lot of these in day-to-day conversation when talking about food and restaurants and parties and all kinds of stuff. Or did you see Bob yesterday? He drank a buttload of beer and he was totally crazy. Oops, sorry, Bob, don't do that. Okay. Oh, I have a question. Is work uncountable? Yeah, work is usually uncountable. Can you think of what one work is? Not really. Two works? Not really. So when we're talking about work, meaning 工作, that is uncountable. I have work to do. I have a lot of work to do. I have some work to do. Can you have a few works to do? No. Maybe a few pieces of work or a few assignments to do. Kind of work and homework are similar, where you cannot count work, you cannot count homework. So you'd say, I have pieces of work, pieces of homework, assignments or projects, something like that. But work and homework both are not countable. Now, there is one time when work can be countable, but that's when we're talking about art. Someone, if they paint a painting, that painting could be called a work of art. So if you're talking about art, then the word work can mean one piece of art. So usually when we're talking about 工作, that kind of work, it's uncountable. If we're thinking 作品, that kind of work, that is countable. So 90% of the time, it's uncountable. Okay? Unless you talk to artists a lot. Okay? So we're in the home stretch for today's stream. We have one more part to do. We have part 5. Okay? So our first sentence is 我花了很多时间上 Kyle 的课程. So this is true about you guys. So thank you so much. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've really liked it. In English, I would say, I've spent a lot of time taking Kyle's course. Okay? And this is present perfect tense. I've spent. I have spent. Okay? So why do we use present perfect? Again, it started before and continued till now. I have spent a lot of time. Okay? You could also use present perfect continuous, which is basically the same. I have been spending. I've been spending a lot of time taking Kyle's course. Basically the same. ING just shows that it was continuing the whole time. You're focused on that continuation. Remember these two, I have spent, I've been spending. The meaning is almost the same, but one is focused a little bit that it's continuing. But yeah, there's not much of a difference, okay? And then I did see someone use past tense. I spent a lot of time taking Kyle's course. Is past tense okay here? I spent? Well, if you're here now, no, it doesn't work. Remember, using past tense, I spent a lot of time, blah, 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 means it happened before and it's over, it's done. So if it's finished, you could use past tense. But right now, you're still taking my course, so we don't use past tense. We need present perfect. Started back then, continued till now. Whew, it's been a while, huh? A few months together. So I've spent a lot of time taking Kyle's course. And a lot of time is something you cannot count. You don't say one time. Well, when we're talking about time, it's uncountable. If you think of one time, that means one event. But here we're talking about time, which is uncountable. So a lot of time, a considerable amount of time, a ton of time, loads of time. All of these are okay. Okay? And after spending time, I've spent a lot of time, we add a verb plus ing. We learned that a few lessons ago. So it's best if you have ing after this verb. So I've spent a lot of time taking Kyle's course. So you take a course, so take is the right verb, the best verb here. Okay? You could also use studying. I've spent a lot of time studying Kyle's course. But course usually goes with the word take, so take is a little bit better. I also saw someone say learn, learning Kyle's course. You learn a thing, or you learn a fact, or you learn knowledge, but you don't learn a course. You study a course, you take a course, okay? So learn is used for what you learn. You learn phrases, you learn idioms, you learn grammar, okay? And then again, you want verb ing, taking Kyle's course, studying Kyle's course, okay? You don't want to study or to take. And then, next up, 终于到了课程尾声. So, I'm on the home stretch of the course. So, the home stretch. Remember, this comes from baseball. When you're on third base and you are running home, that's the home stretch. I'm on the home stretch of the course. So you're almost to the end. We only have one more lesson to go. So you could also say, I'm finally on the home stretch of the course. Now, be careful. We learned the word finally together. And when you use finally, what does that mean? Well, that means you're close to the end, but you're happy about it. So it depends what you mean. So you could use finally here, and that's okay. And you're like, wow, I'm happy that we're almost at the end. But you have to be careful about the word finally, because it sounds like, well, like I said, this could be a good thing, but it could also sound like you're happy that it's over. Oh, geez, Kyle's course. I'm finally at the end of the course. Oh, that course was difficult. Or something like that. Finally sounds like you're happy that it's ending. So maybe you are happy that you've succeeded, you've done good things, but you have to be careful the way you say it if you use the word finally. Finally shows you're relieved. You feel good that it's over. So I'm on the home stretch of the course. I'm finally on the home stretch of the course. Okay? And then I saw a few of you say, use the word already. I'm already on the home stretch. Already would suggest that you're surprised that you're close to the end. Like, wow, I'm already close to the end? Wow, what a surprise. I thought we had a long time to go. So already suggests that you're a little bit surprised that you're close to the end. Okay? I saw someone use in the end. In the end, I'm on the home stretch. This doesn't work super well because in the end sounds like many, many things happened that led to one event. Like Jenny and Bob were fighting. In the end, they broke up. So after many things happened, what was the final result? But is on the home stretch a final result? Not exactly. So in the end doesn't work perfectly here. You could just leave out these words, finally or already. You can keep them or take them out. Okay. And then I said, I'm on the home stretch. You could also say, I'm on the final stretch. And remember, we want to use the word on the home stretch. I saw someone use in the home stretch, but we're on it because you're imagining you're running on that home stretch. Oh, you score. So I'm on the home stretch of the course. You could say on the final stretch, or don't say in the home stretch, you're on it because you're running to home plate. You're going to score points, okay? And then, last but not least, we have 学到很多有用的口语表达方式，还有超爆多惯用语, which are idioms. So, I've learned a ton of useful ways to express myself. And I've learned a zillion idioms. Okay. I've learned a ton of useful ways to express myself. So, 口语表达方式. If you try to translate this directly to English, you'll get something like oral expressions or spoken expressions. But that sounds a little too fancy. It sounds too complicated you don't need to say it like that. I would change this away, or change this around and say useful ways to do something. So I've learned a useful way to blah, 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 blah. I've learned useful ways to express myself. Express yourself means show what you're thinking through your words. So you don't even need the word spoken or oral. Okay? And so I've learned a ton of useful ways. A ton of means many, many, many. So you could say many, a lot of, a ton of, a load of, a buttload of, a crap ton of, and go up and up and up. Up to you, your choice. I chose a ton of. And then our second part, and I've learned a zillion idioms. So this word, zillion, is a huge number, and we have real numbers, 100, 1,000, million, billion, trillion, quadrillion. Those are real numbers. But above that, you can say fake numbers to make it even bigger. A zillion, okay? Or even bigger, a gazillion. So people will use these fake huge numbers to show that it's a crazy amount, way too many. So idioms, one idiom, you can imagine what it is. It's one thing. Oh, this group of words is one idiom. So this is countable. So when it's countable, we can use a zillion idioms, meaning tons of them. Remember, zillion is not a real number. And then you could use the other phrases we learned. A buttload of idioms. Or a beep load of idioms with a SH word. Or you could say a F load of idioms, or a beep load of idioms, or tons of idioms, a crap ton, a F ton, a beep ton. So you could use bad words to make it even bigger and more crazy. So just be careful who you're talking to, right? And remember, zillion is fine with everybody. A load of, a ton of, lots of, fine with everybody. But if you add crap ton, crap load, that's maybe, some people might say, hey, don't say that in front of my baby. And then if you say a beep load with a bad word on front, maybe someone might go, oh my word, don't talk to me like that. So know who you're talking to. If it's your friends, you can say whatever. But if it's your uncle or your grandpa or somebody at a church, don't use bad words, okay? And especially not around kids. So many different ways to say big numbers of stuff and some fun ways to say it. Now, if you want to see more examples of these kinds of words, people using them in real life, go on Google, and I would recommend you search, you might know the website Reddit. So what you could do, go on Google and search Reddit, Reddit, and then quotation marks one of the phrases we're using. So you could say Reddit and then zillion, or Reddit a buttload of, and see what comes up. You might get something that's a little bit inappropriate or crazy or silly, but it's a good way to see people using them in real life. People use these phrases when talking on the internet all the time. Okay, so this is basically the end of our stream today. So lesson 9, conversation 4, and hopefully you feel the same way. You've learned lots of useful expressions, lots of idioms, many, many things, and we're on the home stretch. Oh, amazing, right? Time flies. We have one more lesson, which means 4 more dialogues. And next week, we will start lesson 10, where we start talking about movies and stories. Lesson 10, conversation 1, is talking about genres of movies. So different kinds of stories. Is it a romance? Is it fantasy? Is it science fiction? So we'll start talking about the genres of movies and how to discuss films, okay? Whether it's making stories or filming stories or discussing stories with your friends. So let's call it a day here. And have we learned that idiom before? Let's call it a day. Call it a day means to end something. So let's call it a day for here. So thank you everybody for joining us. This was Lesson 9, Conversation 4. I'll see you guys next week for Lesson 10, Conversation 1. Whew, time flies. We're already on Lesson 10. So, well, it's been a while, right? So thank you very much. Oh, one more thing. If you would like to talk to me directly on the phone for a few minutes, send a message to Kyle Moai, and I will chat with you, and we can say hi on the phone. Be brave. Say hi to me, okay? So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and Happy New Year. Thank you for joining me. And those of you who are new to our class, thank you so much for joining, and I hope you're excited for our study plan, which starts in February, okay? So thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you next week at the same time, 9:30. Bye-bye.